I am so excited to welcome you to a discussion with Dr. Mark Hyman today, lead functional medicine and holistic health expert. We're going to be discussing the importance of self-care and how that aligns with WholyMe's mission. Mark, I couldn't be more thrilled and grateful to have you today.
Oh, thanks, Cece. It's great to be here.
Thank you. It's incredible how impactful your work is. You've transformed so many people's lives. And just last week, I was leaving my apartment in London, and I bumped into my neighbor who was telling me how impactful your work has been, not only in her life, but for her mother and her husband and her whole family. And of course, I know you're very generous with your expertise, but you're also very generous with your time. And I'm super grateful to not only know you, but to spend this time with you.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here.
Of course.
I am a firm believer that life is made of small, defining moments that shape our existence. And of course, meeting you after a long hike in a picnic in South Africa was a defining moment for me. But I wanted to ask you if you could share a defining moment in your career that has made you take this shift towards functional medicine and your mission to help people live healther, longer lives.
I wish it was like after taking a nice hike in the woods and being on a mountain somewhere, but it was actually it was actually getting really sick when I was 36 years old. Overnight, I went from riding my bike 100 miles a day to not being able to walk up the stairs, and developed severe chronic fatigue syndrome. Every system of my body broke down, and I literally had to dig my way out of that over 10 years to figure out what it was, what was causing it, and made me really understand the body in a very different way and rethink my entire approach to health and healthcare and medicine.
Wow. I relate to that a lot. From a really young age, I witnessed a lot of really close family members struggle with chronic pains, and I wanted so badly to help. I've always been a caregiver, and I would do everything I could to help. But there's not much was in my power. I'd go to bed and pray. I'd be like, please take the pain away. You can give it to me. I can take it, but take it away from the ones I love. Of course, life doesn't work that way. And I myself struggled with lower back pains. All of that made me curious about the human body's abilities, vulnerabilities, which is why I went on to study sciences. And it really made me understand that there's a difference between pain and damage. And that's very important at what we do at WholyMe, because we're trying to get people to understand your body's natural alarm systems. And pain is a way for your body to express itself.
Absolutely.
And I love it. In one of your recent interviews, you said, don't trust me, trust your body.
That's right.
Your body is the best doctor in the world.
That's right.
And I wanted to ask you, how can we be better at connecting with our body signaling messengers, but also interpreting what they're trying to tell us?
Yeah, well, I think it's a really important point. I think most of us don't really tune into our bodies or what they need, and if we have signals, we try to ignore them. We suppress them with drugs or medication or alcohol or caffeine or whatever it is, and we kind of miss the clues. But symptoms are clues. They're warning signs. They're your body's best attempt to, deal with a bad set of circumstances and to get your attention to do something about it. But most of us just keep pushing forward until often it's too late. And that really is not good. So I think, pain is so common. And I think it's from, whether it's from, our modern lifestyles and sitting in chairs and not moving, or it's injury or trauma, it's common. And I've struggled with my fair share of pain. In fact, I don't think I ever told you this, but when I had chronic fatigue syndrome, one of the symptoms I had was a really severe muscle pain. And I had actual muscle damage from verifiable on tests through elevated muscle enzymes. So my muscles were literally being damaged and broken down because of the mercury toxicity. And one of the ways that I would get relief, one of the few ways I would get relief, was take a Epsom salt lavender oil bath.
You didn't show that.
I never told you that. But it was actually how I got through it, because I could get some relief every night and go to bed and kind of get to sleep. So it was a really key part of my own healing. And I think, WholyMe is just such a great product, because it really combines a lot of things that I did and had to patch together myself into one simple to use product that I really love.
Thank you. I'm really honored to hear that. So do you think do you find that meditating is actually one of the ways to listen to our body's mechanisms and signals?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, most of us don't stop and tune in, check in, listen.
Right.
So,
It's really that. It's like pausing and
somebody
listening.
say prayer is listening, talking to God. Meditation is listening to God. I think it's listening to your body is part of it, and I think this self-awareness, self-check-ins is key.
It's so key. And you're right. We're a generation of instant gratification that will just turn to anything to numb, suppress, carry on. In fact, a reported stat is 30 million people use non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs daily.
Yeah.
Globally.
30 million?
30 million.
That's all?
Daily.
That's all?
Every day. That's all.
I mean, 30 million use them every day, all year long.
Every day, all year round.
Yeah, I'm sure
that's a lot. And, there's a lot of health consequences associated with that.
Yeah.
And even paracetamol, which is considered like a less invasive type of over-the-counter medication, is the primary reason for chronic liver failure in the UK and in the US.
Absolutely. And liver transplants.
Right.
Yeah.
Can you speak to the health implications of using these kind of over-the-counter medications?
Absolutely. I mean, I think, as a doctor, and I was trained if someone has pain, you give them an anti-inflammatory drug like Advil or ibuprofen or naproxen, or one of the variations of those. You give them Tylenol or paracetamol. And it was sort of what we were taught to do. And we didn't really learn anything else about how to take care of pain. And unfortunately, these drugs are not benign. If they were probably going to be approved today, they might not be approved. I mean, Tylenol, like even in normal doses at normal recommended frequencies and dosages, can cause liver failure, especially when combined with alcohol. It's a deadly combo. I'm probably more worried about Tylenol than I am about the other drugs.
Really?
Yeah, and that's not to say that those other drugs are safe, because in the U.S. alone, 16,000 people die every year from taking these drugs because of gastrointestinal bleeding. Many more have kidney failure from them. I recently had a patient who was taking them regularly and got kidney failure. There was a very famous basketball player, Alonzo Mourning, who was athletic in sports and taking all these anti-inflammatory drugs and ended up getting kidney failure and having a kidney transplant as a young man. So these are not benign drugs, and there are many, many other ways to deal with pain or discomfort. And many of them have to do with using mindfulness practices. There's a lot of work by scientists on this. John Kabat-Zinn, from incredible scientist, really did a lot of deep research on mindful meditation and how that affects pain and chronic pain. But there's a lot of other modalities too, whether it's acupuncture or massage or different kinds of body work or physical therapy treatments that can be very, very effective. And like I said before, I tend to use a lot of things that are really simple and easy to use that you can incorporate. And so
and you spoke of sports, and I wanted to ask you specifically on that note, because I think it's widely accepted that sports exercise is important for our health and well-being. That's like a given. And a lot of focus is on training and performance, less so on care and recovery post-exercise.
Yeah.
Could you speak to the importance of care post-exercise and what are the best practices?
No, absolutely. I mean, I think, there's a phenomenon called hormesis, which means a stress that doesn't kill you but makes you stronger. So exercise is something that actually is a stress to your body, where you're tearing muscle fibers or you're exerting yourself and building up metabolic waste in your tissues, lactic acid, and your body has to recover from that in order to repair and rebuild and make you stronger. So one of the things that people don't recognize is the importance for post-exercise recovery, and that could be, a lot of modalities are great for that. Hot and cold therapy, so sauna, cold plunges are great, and cold plunges are great for inflammation as a way of dealing with that. I think, different kinds of massage, body work, stretching, lymphatic drainage, all these can be very helpful. I think, a lot of people get sore after exercising, and personally, I find the Epsom salt bath is my go-to thing. I recommend it to my patients. I do it myself. I've written about it in my books. It's something I sort of just recently discovered, and it's one of those things that's remarkably effective. It's just remarkably effective because the magnesium in there is a muscle relaxant. And it helps to kind of just draw things out. And then the sulfur, magnesium sulfate, is actually a detoxifier. It helps boost glutathione, so it helps detoxify your cells. And then when you put herbs in there, it helps your nervous system calm down. So I think you nailed it with WholyMe.
Thank you. There's one important point, I think, when it comes to self-care. When everything's fine, it's easy to carry on with life. And it's usually when you get a shock to your system, like yourself, with your, a health complication or even discomfort, that highlights the importance of taking care of your health. But too often, when that immediate discomfort subsides, it's easy to get back to your usual routines.
Yeah.
I think of my sister Catherine. She was telling me she was carrying her baby around all the time, and it caused some discomfort to her neck and shoulder.
Yeah.
But for like a long time, there were no injuries there, but it was very uncomfortable, and it made her have all these promises to herself, saying, I'm going to take better care of myself. I'm going to incorporate all these practices. But as soon as the discomfort went away, so did all the promises.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And so I was wondering if you have any advice for how we can maintain sustained, consistent care routines.
I think, what I always say, if you want to change your habits, make them easy and actionable and automatic. So, for example, I always make sure there's stuff in my house that I have my routine. I don't have to go looking for it. So it might be a little messy, but on my counter I have all the ingredients for my protein shake every morning. In my living room I have my little workout equipment. I have a little corner and I have all that ready to go any time of day. I have built a steam shower. I don't have a big sauna or anything. It's just a simple steam shower, not that big a deal to build. And I have a bathtub that I fill up with cold water. So it doesn't have to get a super expensive sauna or cold plunge. I make sure that I always have stuff at night if I want to take an Epsom salt bath. So like I'm flying back to America and I have Epsom salt in my house because I know after jet lag, like I want to get an Epsom salt hot bath before I get into bed and soak my bones because I'm always achy and tired after flying a long way. So I always have the things that are easy and automatic available to me so I don't have to think about it.
I think that's great advice. I think usually people want to do all the changes all at once, and then that becomes unsustainable, right? If you already have a rhythm that's, you need to get your basics and then build on those, right?
Like you have your toothbrush in your bathroom with your toothpaste.
And it's a reminder. It's right there.
And
right?
so you get to the mirror and there it is,
Exactly.
And so
make it easy, make it convenient, and build on it.
Yeah, and then you can incorporate it with little reminders, like if there's a trigger for something to remember. For example, I decided I wanted to start doing more strength training, and so when I was 50, I couldn't do 10 push-ups without being sore for 3 or 4 days. And so I decided I was going to do push-ups, but I was like, how am I going to remember to do push-ups every day? Well, every day I usually take a shower, so it takes about 3 or 4 minutes for my shower to heat up. And so I'm like, all right, I'm just going to take that time and get on the bathroom floor and do a bunch of push-ups. And so now I can do a lot of push-ups. So
how many push-ups can you do?
I don't want to say.
You're like, I can't even count.
North of 50.
Amazing. Okay. Well, I think that's really great advice. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate your time. I know how busy you are, and I hope that you've enjoyed this as much as I did.
Yeah, it's great. It's fun.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it.